I've been looking at the book of Acts, the Acts of the Apostles, and as we draw towards the end of the book of Acts, the narrative style of Acts helps us to navigate through not only the journeys of Paul, although that's not the entirety of Acts, it's obviously a significant and important part of the book. We also come to a slightly different phase where Paul gets into quite hot water, really, in Jerusalem. He experiences persecution. It's the persecution which has been prophesied and promised, and which he knows is going to come. People have warned him about it and tried to dissuade him from going to Jerusalem as a result. But this happens anyway. And then things start to take an interesting turn. Now, the significance for Paul going to Jerusalem, among other things, is that he was somebody who was zealous for the case of the Jews, to go after these Christians, to persecute them, and he was sent out really very much to pursue them around in various parts of the empire. And being one of these kind of people, Jerusalem for him was the epitome of all that was good, all that was moral, religious, pure, and so on. And so he goes back there, but not because he's putting all his faith in his old ways, but actually he's wanting to relay back to people. I was one of you. I was like this. I was this sort of person. I was zealous as well, but I encountered Jesus, and I realised that my zeal was based on my own human striving, and it was Jesus that I needed to find. It was Jesus I needed to encounter. And so we see in Acts, towards the end of Acts, and particularly this speech in Acts 22, he tries to relay his story to them. And then he gets into a situation where there's this tremendous anger in the crowd, and it's his Roman citizenship that is key at this point for him being spared. And we just read in the 22nd chapter here. It says, verse 19, "Lord," I replied, "these men know that I went from one synagogue to another to imprison and beat those who believe in you. And when the blood of your martyr Stephen was shed, I stood there giving my approval and guarding the clothes of those who were killing him. Then the Lord said to me, 'Go, I will send you far away to the Gentiles.'" So he's talking about the time when, for him, coming back to the Jewish people, coming back to Jerusalem, felt like it was going to be a great opportunity to be able to explain to those who knew him well and who had been there with him, and he had sided on their side against the Christians, and he could identify with them ever so well, had been guilty of the same things they were guilty of. But strangely enough, the Lord says to him at that point, "Go, I will send you far away to the Gentiles." And that's actually the point where the Jewish crowd feel most angry with him, because he's making out that somehow God has this great interest in the Gentiles, and that they seem to be of great and high importance, and somehow what's happened to us? We've been going after the right things for such a long time. We've been trying to do all the right things, in our view anyway, and why would God be interested in the Gentiles? They're unclean. They look down on them. They saw them as definitely second class. So this is a point also where, strangely enough, Paul also brings in his Roman citizenship. And we find this in Acts 22, verse 25. "As they stretched him out to flog him, Paul said to the centurion standing there, 'Is it legal for you to flog a Roman citizen who hasn't even been found guilty?' And this causes quite a lot of consternation, quite a lot of concern, because this was actually putting them in a very difficult position. He had rights as a Roman citizen. Now, he was somebody who was born a citizen, and so he had particular rights. It wasn't something that he bought out. You know, if you're going to live in Spain, just a bit of a visa tip. If you want to get a golden visa, I think you have to spend about €500,000 on property, but you can get a golden visa. You can get a residency visa from the Spanish government. Okay, but it costs you a lot of money to do it, and I thought it'd be a nice idea, but I haven't actually got that kind of money at the moment. So the commander was somebody who's in that kind of category, and paid a high price for his citizenship. But Paul didn't have to. He was a citizen by birth. So this was a great opportunity, and strangely enough, this is Paul, the former Jewish persecutor, the one who had a great heart for the Jewish people, but also one who was sent by God very clearly to the Gentiles. And now he actually uses one of his Gentile credentials, which is being a Roman citizen, as an opportunity really to open up his case more fairly. And so he goes through a whole process which we see unfolding in the remaining chapters of the book of Acts. This whole process of the judicial system and his case being heard and eventually appealing to Caesar and therefore going to Rome. So I just wanted to say a couple of things very quickly. Number one is God doesn't always take us down the road that we would imagine. Even the people that we feel we would be most easily connected to from our own personal history. Number two, God will use our credentials in various ways, and sometimes the unusual things that happen in our life, or the things which might seem just incidental, can be quite key for God's purposes to unfold. And number three, we should always recognize that God might do things in an unconventional way, and we just want to try and work with that, fit in with his plan rather than our plan, roll with it, and allow him to open doors we didn't imagine possible, and to do things in a way that we hadn't perhaps thought the likely course of events. So my prayer today, Lord, is that you would help us to be sensitive to your voice, to be obedient and go in the direction that might seem obvious sometimes, but to be open to the unobvious, the unlikely, the surprise, and take hold of everything in our life, our past history, the things that are to us the big things that matter a lot, and the things which maybe might not be so obvious at first, the parts of our own life experience which you can put to good use, and take hold of all of it, Lord, and use it whatever way you will. Lord, help us to be clay in the hands of the potter. Help us to be adaptable, able to be shaped into what you want. We don't want to dictate terms to you. Lord, we want to be able to be moulded into what you would like most for our lives and our future and our direction and the plans ahead. Lord, don't let them be our plans in our own small thinking, but help us to fit in with your plans in your big thinking.